Hello, guys, and welcome back. If this is your first time, I hope you will stay. Espero que te quedes. So, today I'm looking at good teachers and bad teachers. What makes a really good teacher? And in your opinion, what's a bad teacher? I mean, we've all had a good teacher and a bad teacher, you know? And I feel as though for us as teachers, it's good to hear students' feedback so we can actually improve our practice. So we're going to go right into it. And I'm going to start off actually just talking about my favorite teacher and why she was a good teacher for me personally. Her name was Miss Campbell. She was a Jamaican teacher. I absolutely loved her because she always encouraged and praised us a lot, and so you felt as though you were important. It felt she made you feel like you were intelligent, and that made you work really hard. So, and she was also really, really loving and caring person. And I've chosen to mention that because throughout all the interviews that I've had and all the feedback that I've had from students, that's one thing that comes up: a caring teacher. So I think that's probably the best or the key word that defines a good teacher. And obviously, we have lots of other ones to describe the negative teachers. Para ti, ¿quién ha sido para ti the best teacher? And then followed by the worst teacher that you've had. Obviously, some of these are in Spanish, some are in English, and some are actually from kids from other countries apart from Spain and Spain and England. I've also got someone from Bulgaria, from Germany. It's a global questionnaire, really. Okay, Chu.
Well, I don't think I've ever had like a best teacher. I've had some favorites, but I think that a good teacher isn't only when they push you and motivate you to do your best. It's also when they're explaining something and you can understand things clearly. That's key to when you're studying. It helps a lot.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this one from Davy, that's from my Cambridge English class. He says, a bad teacher is someone who hates his or her job, and it shows. Someone walks into the room and it's obvious that they're not passionate about what they do, and they transmit that to the kids. I think we could all agree that that's obviously a really bad example of a bad teacher, right? A good example of a bad teacher. And he says that a good teacher is the teacher who has vocation for education. I do like that. So I mean, if you're not just teaching because there's nothing else to do, you're teaching because it's a passion of yours and it's your calling. So thank you for that one, Davy. Right. Lydia says, the good teacher cares about you and tries to explain everything so that you understand things and learn. And the bad teacher just reads the book and makes you memorize everything. I actually agree with that. And there are teachers who do that. And the key is explaining. And if you can get that across to everyone, I think that's good. Thank you. Muchas gracias, Lydia. Belen says, a good teacher knows his or her children's problems and abilities so that they can help them better. Okay, good, thank you. And the bad teacher is not interested in children's feelings at all. Okay, muchas gracias. Do you agree? ¿Estás de acuerdo con eso? Or?
Well, I think a bad teacher, as for example some of the comments said before, is when they're not motivated to teach you because you can see that they're not interested in what they're doing.
Okay.
I also think that there are some teachers who like their job, but, there are other ways of showing that they're not good teachers. For example, this happened to me in class once.
Okay.
I was in a math class, and one of my classmates didn't understand one of the problems, so he lifted up his hand and he asked a question. So this teacher turned around and, he kind of started calling him names and kind of humiliating him in front of the whole class.
Okay.
So, of course, after that, you kind of feel as though you can't ask those questions either.
because you'll be embarrassed or humiliated.
Exactly.
And actually, it's interesting that you should say that because Diego has mentioned that, and it's interesting because Diego has actually turned out to be a doctor, and it was a maths class as well, and he said that he wasn't listening because he was messing about in class, and again he was called out to the front of the board, and obviously he didn't know what to do because he wasn't paying attention, and that the teacher said to him that he would never amount to anything, and that stayed with him, and he just really didn't try anymore in maths. And so I think that this is key to understanding that your words as a teacher means a lot, and you can't just say things because you don't know how deeply that's going to affect someone. So words are definitely a massive thing. So okay, let's check another one. Laura says that my best teachers were actually my favourites because they made me work very hard and they made sure, it was their responsibility, they took it upon themselves to make sure I was learning, and they really taught explaining. And the worst teachers that I had were bad because they didn't explain at all, they just left you to get on with it, and sometimes you got lost. Okay, thank you. Obviously, some of these are in Spanish, so I'm going to read this one in Spanish and then we'll explain a little bit. Okay, so this one says, los mejores, aquellos que saben transmitir, que te exigen, que te hacen esforzarte y que cuando dejas de tenerlos te das cuenta de lo que te han dado. Okay, so basically it's the ones who really push you and demand a lot from you, and when you don't have them anymore, when you leave school, you still remember them because you really appreciate everything that they actually gave to you. And the worst ones, he says, are the ones who do the opposite. But yo prefiero acordarme de los buenos. He prefers to remember and think about the good ones. Thank you for that as well. Okay, so yeah, I think what I've got from most of these is that the feeling of being humiliated in front of the class, even if you were misbehaving, that no one wants to be called names. No one, even if it's in a joking fashion, no one wants to feel as though the teacher sees them in that sort of negative light. Yeah, so I think it's just making sure that we're not doing that as teachers, really. Okay, next point that I have from Nico says that, just a teacher who was always shouting and never smiled was my worst teacher, and I don't have any favorite teachers. Okay, a little bit negative there, but okay. Share your opinions with us. Who was your favorite or your least favorite, and what practices did they use? What practice stayed with you? What points stood out? What made them great? Obviously, as I've said, you know, the five most important points that I've got from my kids are these. So someone who cares for their students. Okay. Someone who explains well. Okay. Somebody who has a passion for the job. Yeah. Someone who doesn't insult or call names, and somebody who knows their topic well. Because a couple of people have mentioned that they had teachers who had no idea about what they were teaching, and so that obviously caused that impression that they weren't very good teachers. That is it. I'm going to stop because if I go on more, this is going to turn into an hour-long video, and obviously we do not want that. So share your ideas with us. What for you makes a good teacher? I hope that this has been a useful video, and hasta la próxima vez, chicos. Adiós. Uy, qué calor.